Which slam has the worst line review system out of them all? Is it Wimbledon, the Australian Open, the French Open, or the US Open? Let's get this party started, baby. Without a doubt, let's start with the first. Let's start with the best. The best line review system out of all the slams is going to be the French Open, without a doubt. You literally have lines in the clay that you can use as a guide. But listen, guys, the worst, without a doubt, is Wimbledon. And I watched most of the WTA matches this tournament, and going back several years, I watched a lot of the male matches. Wimbledon's got the worst line review system out of all the slams. Let's just be honest. Now, even look, we can even talk about a manual review at the French Open. That helps, of course, right? That makes it the best. But in terms of the Hawkeye system out of all the slams, without a doubt, Wimbledon's the worst. Then look, I'm going to say it's a toss-up between the Australian Open and the US Open. The Australian Open this year in particular was horrible. Abhorrent, simply disgusting, the calls. And look, Big Mama Asta, Yelena Ostapenko, a lot of the calls he was arguing, and look, normally we're not going to give Yelena Ostapenko the benefit of the doubt, but she was correct on a lot of those calls. That line system, that line review system is just horrible at the Australian Open. At the US Open, we're going to say that's the third worst system, right? That's the third worst system. But the reality here is, at the US Open, you don't know what's going to happen with some of those calls. You really don't. Because I've seen some calls at the US Open that were almost a foot behind the baseline, and they called them in. I don't know how the Hawkeye reviewed it in when some of those calls are out. But the best line review system is the French Open. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And then we're going to say the US Open, then the Australian Open, and of course the worst is Wimbledon. And we're also going to talk about just the play on the grass, guys. Without a doubt, more professionals get injured playing at Wimbledon than any other tournament. Do we need to do something about that? Do we need to work on maybe, I don't know, special shoes? We know a lot of the men's, they do have custom sneakers, and just to kind of help give them more grip. But as the tournament progresses, we're seeing too many professionals fall down and get hurt. Here's Novak here. It's happening way too often, guys. We have to protect our superstars, and these courts at Wimbledon, they're just unsafe. Let's just be honest. More injuries happen at Wimbledon than any other slam. Look, as the grass starts to wear out, the faded and worn spots, they become a pretty stable surface. You know, not exactly like a hard court, but it's pretty stable. You can cut, pivot, stop, accelerate without any issues. But the deeper baseliners have an advantage as the tournament goes on, because a lot of the grass behind the baseline, and of course you're talking probably 6 to 8 feet, so this favors the deep players with those powerful ground strokes and wide angles that can stretch opponents far beyond the baseline. It favors them, right? Whereas earlier in the tournament, a lot of the conditions favor those with the short balls, the amazing serves, those that can serve and volley, those that can hit slices and drop shots. Because once that ball hits the grass, it's going dead. You know, it doesn't have that hard bounce, or not even the clay bounce, where we can see clay players like Iga Swiatek return those, Coco Gauff, you know. But nonetheless, guys, what do you think? Which tournament has the worst line review system? And do you think the grass, look, it's just horrible. These calls are horrible. Do you think the grass is just unsafe? Do they need to change something? I don't know, maybe bring in artificial grass for the championship at least, right? We don't want to see players falling. How often look, I saw Carlos Alcaraz win this point here. That was clearly out. I don't know what's going on here, but nonetheless, guys, the players, they're falling a little bit too much. They're risking injury. I mean, we don't want to see Carlos falling down like this. It's scary. Every time he falls down, it's scary. You don't know if he's going to call for the physio, if he's going to pull a hamstring, if it's going to be that abdominal injury. We don't want to see our star players falling this much. Tennis in a minute. Comment below. What do you think? Grass is too much, guys. It's too many injuries.